I started this research by looking at the 364-day calendar. I have a fascination with how time can be calculated and the different ways time can be calculated and mapped. And given that our history is not as we're told, I have suspected for a long time that our calendar system has been manipulated and in some way weaponized against us by taking us out of the natural cycles. I especially see this when I have tried to make sense of old sky maps and charts. As you can see here, I have done a depiction of the 364-day calendar. The calendar can be divided into 12 months of 30 days, with a day added at each of the solstices and the equinoxes, or 13 months of 28 days. This calendar can be easily transfigured into a 365-day calendar if a rest day is added for the central hub. I had heard that there was a 3-year lunar cycle in relation to the 364-day calendar. I wanted to see if the cycle was true and how it worked and what it could mean. The first thing I did was start plotting where the new moons fell on this calendar. I went to the timeanddate.com and started inputting where they landed. While I didn't initially realise the pattern straight away, I noticed that the new moons fell very close to the spring equinox on the 3 years. To try and work out further where a cycle was occurring, I basically found all the March moons that were close to the spring equinox and began listing these moons and their phase types. This is the list I came up with. Even though they are not exactly on the equinox date, they are very close, and as you can see, there is a pattern that repeats. To be sure that I had a pattern, I extended it back further into time, starting at 1968 and then further into the future to about 2025. As you can see, for 2008 to 2011, it has a full moon, half moon, and another full moon. For 2012 to 2015, it goes from new moon, half moon, and new moon, and this cycle repeats. There is a discrepancy in the cycle. This is approximately a 2-year cycle, and the moon phases are full moon, half moon, and new moon. This 2-year cycle occurs at the time of the lunestices, or maximum and minimum lunar standstills. The sun over the course of 6 months will move from tropic to tropic, from solstice to solstice, internal to external. Just like the sun, the moon will traverse internally and externally over the course of half a month. The difference between the sun and the moon is that the extent of travel from internal to external changes over a period of time, whereas the sun's extent of travel does not change, as far as we've been told. The extent of the sun's travel is called the tropics, while the extent of the moon's travel goes beyond the tropics and also within the tropics. The maximum and minimum extents of these movements are called the lunestices or lunar standstills. The maximum extent of the moon's travel, shown in red, is called the lunar maximum. The minimum extent of the moon's travel is called the lunar minimum. The midpoint between the maximum and minimum is called a lunar equinox, or equalized lunar standstill. From lunar maximum to lunar minimum, it takes about 18.6 years. The position of the moon within this cycle dictates the position eclipses are most likely to occur. The maximums and minimums of the lunar standstill, eclipses will occur at the solar equinoxes. The lunar equinox or lunar equalized standstill, the position between the maximum and minimum, the eclipses are most likely to occur at the solar solstices. Going back to the lunar phase cycle I showed earlier, we can see that the 2-year 3-phase cycle occurs at the lunar maximum and minimum standstills. Thank you for watching.